I am Julie Krug. I'm the Director of Risk Management at Sunrise Community. I know. I'm the Director of Risk Management at Sunrise Community, and I would love to take credit for this program, but I had nothing to do with it. It was before I got here. But I am going to talk about it in a realistic fashion, but I do want to say, just a reminder from the top of this, I have to do a little disclaimer. We are not endorsing any specific company. OHS happens to be the company that we use. We're talking about POET in general. Okay, that was my disclaimer. Okay, so we consider our program of risk management, the insurance is a part of it. I have very little control over insurance costs. Why? A lot of it's dictated by the market. I can't take credit when we do really well for insurance premiums because of market fluctuation, a hard market, a soft market, but I can take credit when our losses are less. And when it comes to workers' compensation, when we have less lost time claims, it's much more beneficial to us. So our lost time claims means the employee is not at work because they are injured so poorly they cannot do the job functions that they have. All right, and so the other ones are medical only. They treat, they go to work, everybody, gets better a lot faster and a lot cheaper. And it's not about the cost of the claim, even though I'm going to talk about that just as a way to show you the difference in pre-POET and post-POET for us. It's more about, again, the cost of the claim. It's more about your productivity. So if you have somebody out of work, does the job still have to get done? Yeah. Most of our businesses are 24 businesses, 7 days a week. So now you've hired somebody that got hurt, you still got to put somebody in there. So whenever we have HR, a little pushback being like, we just need to get a body in here. I'm like, well, you're going to get a body in here, then it's going to cost you $100,000, and then you're going to have to put another body in there anyway. So let's just skip that. Okay, so, I just turned it off. Okay, all right, so I'm going to give you a little bit about our background statistically. In Florida, because we are operational in 6 other states, in Florida we have 2,000 employees. I'm only talking about our Florida exposure because that is the one that relates to you guys. We have a pretty decently high turnover rate. These are all very important when it comes to post-offer employment testing because you have to know about how often we have to turn over our staff. And so I looked at our fail rate, and yes, I use rounding, but a 1% fail rate is not bad. So to demonstrate this and my understanding of it is I said, who has managers over an area that has direct support staff? Do you have anybody? Okay. So when your direct support staff calls out, what happens? Right, so the manager is the next step. So they ask for somebody on call, which, yay, I hope they're available. But if not, the manager has to step in. It's their job. So what happened was last year, I'm like, wait a second. We don't test our residential program directors, which are the next, nor the director of operations. So they still have to do the same physical job that the other ones had to do, that the direct support staff. So I looked at the numbers of injuries for those particular clients or particular employees and measured them against the number of employees there were, because there's obviously less managers than there are direct support professionals, and got the ratios, and I'm like, you know what, we should be testing them. And then my genius of a girl, Sandra, she ends up doing all this back work, working with OHS and figuring out if we end up redoing the whole test, retesting it, because every couple of years it should be different. And we found out that the residential program directors, that's a job that has the exact same physical requirements. And then we're like, you know what, while we're at it, maintenance actually has a $50 lift rate. It's a pretty, I think it's 50 pounds. 50 pounds, I believe, is the lift, which I can't do. And then that comes to the next thing, is that in order for us, so we implemented it for these other jobs, and it's working out great. And so the CEO said, you know what would be great is if you all took the test. So we didn't all take the test, but myself and 3 other people took the test. And we had the CEO, the CFO, the COO, the director of HR, all in the room. So we were all in the room. So we had 4 people taking the test. One was in their mid-20s. One was in their mid to late 40s, but we're going to call it mid-40s. And then 2 in their 50s. Okay? I go to the gym 5 times a week. I mean, I don't say I work out, but I definitely show up 5 times a week. okay? I don't know about the other ones, but I'm the only one that failed, okay? And I failed for a very good reason, because I was never going to pass to begin with. I am very close to getting a new hip. I know it's coming. Everyone knows it's coming. So I wasn't going to try very hard at the test. I mean, I lifted up from the ground up, and then I said, you know what, I can't do this, and I put it down. I didn't even try. I didn't even make the attempt, even though I guess I was actually lifting the wrong amount. But nonetheless, I failed right away. I would have... I don't know, you're crazy. What kind of person does that to somebody? The other thing that we had to do, which I thought was very cool, was I had to stand and basically play with a game like this for a while, like, I don't know, maybe it was 2 minutes. And I didn't think it was going to affect me the way it did. It really started to hurt after a while. But what do you do when you're cutting somebody's food? Are you down at level with the food? No, you're up here, so you're leaning over. So there's all these things that I would never have thought of, and thank goodness we took that test. Everybody else passed with flying colors. And I looked silly. Anyway, so not many people fail. However, I sit on my butt for 8 hours a day, and I might get up to go to the bathroom 6 times. So that's the extent of my physical activity in the daytime. Oh, that's the buzz. Okay, now I'm getting it. All right. You need a master's degree for this. Okay, so I'm getting there. Yeah, I'm going to get there. I'm going to talk about history. So thank you, Jim. Our fail rate was a lot higher at the beginning, but we'll get there. So I know when I sent this to Justin at OHS, he probably had a heart attack. He's like, this is not telling the picture of a story of somebody having less claims. You know, I'm like, well, you're right, it doesn't. So he probably was like, oh, but I have a qualifier here. Okay, so we started it over here, and you guys said March, I said February, but tomato, tomato. Okay. And these are our lost time frequency rates, which means that for every $1 million of payroll against the amount of lost time claims, but I only did strain claims because that's the big one that this actually assists. We have other claims, of course, it falls into and assists with, but strain's the main one. So that's where we started it. And this is a test over time, so it's apples to apples. So when we did start it, we did have a higher rate right here, the higher fail rate, for a couple reasons. First off, administering it, very interesting, like people being forced to go to the test knowing that they're going to fail, and then they fail, and now we have people that just don't show up, which now that all the staff is used to it. So the fail rate actually started off around 4 or 5%, and then over the past couple years it's gone down to 2, and now we're down to 1. Again, it doesn't take into effect all the people that just don't show up, because I wouldn't have showed up if that was part of my job. I showed up for the drug screen. That was part of my job. Okay, so here's where we started POET. I had to mention when return to work happened because that's why there's a big dip there. And I could talk about return to work all day, so hire me for next time. That's my favorite. Okay. All right, this is Florida data only, free money, yeah, I said all those things. I don't even need these notes, but I do. Okay, this is the fun stuff. So all right, so this is why this doesn't look like it's an improvement, because I don't know when these people were hired. So it's not going to affect anything. So the only way, and by the way, thank you, Donahue, for giving me my slide, because I did not create it. Okay, so this is the lost time claims. 49 for people that start that in the same exact number of time, 49 lost time strain claims. The exact amount of time people post POET, 24. And then the dollars. The dollars aren't that relevant because most of you guys have an insurance product that is insured. But again, back to productivity. Somebody that's out of, these are 49 people that were out of work because of a strain claim, down to 24 people that were out of work from a strain claim in Florida. And then I did the last one, which was all the strain claims, meaning medical onlys also, as well as record onlys. And it's still a 45-person delta of risks and a $448,000 savings. This is real money. It's not necessarily, again, we have an insurance product that we are paying for our losses, but it, again, it's productivity, it's, you know, having safe employees. I probably wasn't going to pass the test anyway because apparently my rate per minute the entire time was over 100. My heartbeat was like, and I wasn't even nervous. Then I tested it when I was like resting. I'm like, I need to see a doctor. So I think he's going to prescribe red wine. So anyway, this is pretty much it. Oh, yeah, that is it. So if anybody has any questions or wants to know any of like the struggles we had or the, any of the problems with the administration, please find me at the break because it is very boring and I was told to make this very, very brief and concise. And so I have another 20 slides. I'm just kidding. That's it. Thank you. Oh, a question. I thought I would. I thought I talked fast enough.
So I think if you're over all the sunrise communities,
Yeah. Yes. No, but HR actually administers ours. Yeah. Right, so we actually don't administer the program at all. We come up with the ideas and then we just, voila, somebody else has to do the work. It's called being voluntold. So we don't actually administer it, HR does, because it's also part of the new hire process. Why you don't need another department. So it really doesn't, it's just another background check in my, background test. Right, we have large numbers.
Large numbers. This is something that is feasible, economical. Can they speak to the feasibility of implementing this on a smaller?
Okay, so I looked at it's a cost per test. So it's not like I'm paying, $200,000 off the bat. It's cost per test. So if you have 50 employees throughout the year that need to go do it, it's just going to be that cost per test. Depending on the state, I think Florida is average $150 a test, which saves you a ton. Yes. Yeah, they did do that. They came in and measured and did all that stuff. But yeah, again, and they did that as part of just their process. We didn't pay extra for it. But again, it goes by person. So the large scale numbers, what I was showing, does not affect everybody, obviously. Less. Just Florida, well, it depends on which one. So just Florida. I'm sorry? It was 5 years. It was 5 years. Same. Hold on, I want to. No, total. Okay, so this is, I can go through these numbers again. Okay, so this is 5 years. So this is 5 years of claims. This is a total of lost time strain claims. And then the same 5 years with the different employees, so there were only 24 employees that had strain claims lost time, and then there's the delta. So it was almost $500,000. Absolutely. $448,000 in savings, so kind of.
The other thing I would say is just, the startup cost of this, it's not super expensive, several $1,000s to get a good job description. Maybe you already have one. It depends. That'd be one of the first things your consultant would look at. And then you only pay as you go. If you've only got 18 job offers that you extend a year, then that's what it costs. And if you outsource the administration, it's a small fee attached to the test cost, and then you're actually probably saving money versus the hourly rate of the employees that would be otherwise managing the thing. So, these things are cost effective, especially when you're looking at $450,000 in cost savings. They really do pay for themselves pretty quickly.
So this is a good question Hasib just asked. If we had a rise in employment practices liabilities suits, we've had actually no cases involving this, involving POET. Most of our cases, for starters, aren't real, but nonetheless, they had nothing to do with that. This is just Florida. Yeah, Jennifer, when we talked about it, we decided to limit it to just Florida. But I can show you all the numbers. I love talking about this. Again, I didn't even put this into place, so. Okay, is that it? All right, thanks.